All right. I think I got it figured out. This is a new thing I'm experimenting with, and I should have Nick showing up later on. We're gonna see if we can't pull this off. So I normally do my live streams with OBS Studio or whatever it's called, and I wanted to try this Streamyard because you can add more people to it. You can actually have people in the talking or whatever in the same way. So like here I can click on here's Mason, and this is cool. I can click on Mason's little comment, and it shows up on the screen right there. So that's pretty cool, and I can hide that. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm kind of seeing who's going to show up, because I got 6 viewers showing up on there. And so there's Rain Man. Hey, Rain Man, hope you can hear me okay. Let me know if it's working good. Is it? Because I'm just trying to verify. I know it showed on my test run that it was working, so I have to, I can't know until I see somebody reply. So I got a thumbs up by Rain Man. Okay, that's cool. Marty, yep. All right, so we got Ron. Yeah, this is pretty cool. This StreamYard thing. I'm gonna just see how it goes. And I think there's different options here on the bottom. I know I can't show you, obviously, but there's different options for how you can add different people. And I think you can have actually, hi Faraway, far away. I never say it right. But I think I can have, up to 5 people, so basically the way this works is if you have the link, if I were to email you the link to this stream, you can join in, and then I can add you or whatever. And hey, Leonard, glad you're here. So yeah, that's what this video is, or this live stream is really about, is trying to figure this out and try to make sense of it. So I did that live stream last week where I had the camera set up in the top of the actually on my speaker shelf, and shown the action of filming the stuff and working on the car and refilming stuff and working on the car and doing all that sort of thing. I think that went pretty well. People seem to enjoy seeing how that works. Hey Cecil. So I just thought it would be interesting to share how that process goes. And then of course I made the video for test fitting the engine. Hey Andrew. Yeah, things are going pretty good. Hey Heath, glad you're here. Things are going as good as we can, as good as we can hope. So there's a lot going on in the world. We know that, and we don't have a direct answer just yet for all this stuff going on. But I think if I can make some videos that people like to watch or something, keep them occupied, I'm going to try to do that. There's a variety of things that we can do at home, obviously, and the advantage for me is I can do this. Hey Robert, I can do this from my home. So I guess that's a good thing. Like I was saying, this is kind of an experiment. I'm trying to figure out different ways to get people interactive, because I've said it before, it's okay to talk, answer questions. But hey Jack, glad you're here. But it's nice to hear some other stuff going on, some other interactions or whatever. So if you're interested in taking part in this process, I have to figure out how to get you in here. I can send an email with the link, and again, I'm learning as I go. So I know I've sent one link to my buddy Nick, and I'm not sure if I need to do something. He'll probably chime in here in a minute and let me know if I need to do something like I said, there's down on the bottom of the screen, it has a little icon with 1 person and 2 and whatever. And so it'll let you, let me just click on that and see what happens. Yeah, didn't do anything because there's nobody else around. Yeah, Barry. My name is Barry. Joe is, I had this question earlier on one of my videos from a guy named Stein. Pretty cool name, Stein, S-T-E-I-N. And he asked me where I came up with the name Joe Daddy or Joe Daddy's Garage. So I explained to him that Joe is for my daughter, our daughter Joelle. We call her JoJo, and I'm her daddy, you know. So I just kind of merged them together 10 years ago, and that's how the name came about. So yeah. Hey Carl. Yeah, it's weird having somebody else named Barry around, because, you know, there's not a lot of people named Barry. Wasn't my choice, you know, it's the name I was given. And so it's just kind of there's just not a lot of us. I know when I was in school, I think there was 2 of us. Even when I was in the Army, all the guys I knew, there was only 2 of us, but we were in the same platoon. So, and he might be watching. I don't know. Barry Porter was my buddy. But it's kind of you know, it's an odd name, really. You don't see people named Barry anymore. At least I don't see any young people named Barry. So, yeah, it is what it is. But I was, you know, you watch the news and you get all, it depends what you watch. And we can all go all kinds of different tangents on stuff going on in the world today. But, you know, there's a lot of simple things. Hey, Andrew's here. Cool. Let's see. Hey, Doug. Yeah, it worked for Barry White. Yeah, you're right, Ron. It did. But I don't have those kind of vocals. Okay, so you worked in the ER with 4 Barrys. Yeah, well, I think there's a window of time where the name Barry was popular, you know? And like I said, I don't know anybody named Barry anymore that's younger than in their 40s. So, yeah. So, Doug, it's glad you're here. You know what I could do if Andrew is interested? I could send Andrew. Let me see how this works. Nope, I don't want to do that. I could send Andrew the link and get him on here. If you haven't seen it, Andrew is Grease Rookie, and we could throw him on here. No, that's okay. I get off track on my own. Hey, Bob. Okay, so you've done web experience. See, I can click on this. I like this because I can click on Bob's comment. Look at that. Bob pops up. I can't do that with OBS. Well, I probably can, but this is really simple. And I can click on it again, and it goes away. So that's pretty cool. Let me see if Andrew's going to respond. I know he's working on his Mustang, so normally he just sits and listens to me ramble on about stuff, but maybe he wants to get involved. I don't know. Gotta have my coffee. But anyway, as the world goes on and things get difficult, you know, we can all do our part. You know, I see it. You see people on the news and they tell you to stay home, don't interact. You know, isolate yourself at home, watch TV, whatever. Hey, Mason, hats are 26 bucks, shipped anywhere in the continental US. So if you want one, let me know. Hey, Doug, I'm using Streamyard. If you look up here in the right, yeah, I guess I can. How do I do this? There it is, backwards image, powered by Streamyard, right there. This is pretty cool. But anyway, like I was saying, we can all do our part to stay at home. You know, watch movies, play with your kids. stay away from people. We don't need to be spreading all this junk around. It's crazy that we get these warnings, and the people are still going off and having group gatherings and stuff like that. So let me do this. I'm going to invite. What are you doing? All right, I'm gonna see if I can do this to get Andrew coming. So I have to click away for a minute. Let me see if I can get Andrew. All right. So we're going to see if this is going to work. And I have to get back. Here we go. Close this. All right. Slow that Mustang down. Yeah. Slow. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. If you're talking about this Mustang, it's not going anywhere for a while. Hey, there's Ricky Lynn. Glad you're here. So I sent Andrew the link. We're going to see how this works. There's Stein. See? Here, look at. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah. So you're right, Stein. There's 80 years ago we were fighting for our freedom. In 2020, we'll just stay at home. Yeah, and that's. But you know what? It's a different situation. You know, it's about our health and our spreading of a virus and whatever. So, I mean, as long as they're shutting down places, we have to be responsible and do our part to not help spread this stuff. It's just, hey, Butch, glad you're here. Hey, LD, glad you're here. You know, people want you to stay home so you don't spread it to other people. Even though there are groups of people that can stay healthy, it may not get affected by this. They can still be a carrier. You know, they can still pass it on to somebody else. And you know, you watch the news and the stuff going on in Italy and France and even in Iran. You know, all these countries. It's crazy. You know, it is crazy. And you know, we don't think about the how lucky we are to have, you know, decent healthcare and stuff. So, okay, let's see. I just heard something. Let's see. We got John, Barry. We're here. Let me just click on that. Let me just click on that. See, look at that. That's pretty cool. Stay at home, guys. Yep. Thank you, John. That's pretty cool. I really like that feature that I can click on that. Whoops. Let's see. GM guy, haven't really affected him. He's got he does upholstery from home. That's cool. Yeah. See, I can click on him, and you get to see what he says. Makes it really neat. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is, you know, hey Rick. That's the other thing too. Is, you know, we've got a lot of small businesses that are definitely going to struggle through this, and you know, it's tough. I've said it before. I work for the airline, you know, and when they're parking planes, filling up runways with planes, that's devastating for the whole industry. Because you think about it, you know, planes aren't flying because people can't fly and they're not working, so they don't have money to fly. If those planes don't fly, it has a snowball effect. Same way with everything. You know, if people aren't, buying products, because we're based on a consumer, you know, society. We're all about consumerism, and so if that ball stops rolling, things become really difficult really fast. So, I'm trying to wait and see if Andrew has received the link. I assume he has, but I'm learning here. So just bear with me a little bit as I get this figured out. We've got 43 viewers. You can see. Let's see. Let me get my 43 viewers and been live for 14 minutes. And yep, I can make that say anything I want, really. So I don't know. What do I need to click on? I'm not sure what Wait, maybe Nick can give me some insight here, because he does this a lot. So I'm gonna wait and hear from him. But like I was saying, it's gonna snowball. You know, the whole effect of people not working, and you know, these little mom and pop places that have restaurants or whatever. You know, if you can order from them and help them out, you know, do that. Get them. You know, buy food from them. Help them, keep them in business. Hey, Dale. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just responsibility. You know, help take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and if you can help other people in some way, you know, buying products is a way to help them. Hey, Brian. You know, I know we've been shopping. You know, buying our regular stuff. We don't go crazy and stockpile stuff. All right, let's see here. Wait a minute. I've got Andrew showing up. All right, so here you go. We're gonna click on Andrew. Hey,
holy cow!
Look at that.
What's going on?
Okay, so now we have the Grease Rookie on the screen, and so they can hear you just as well as. Now I don't know if, again, I haven't used this much, but I don't know if it's gonna if we're echoing, you know, if it makes a loop or not. I don't know. So I don't know if Andrew, if you're hearing me twice.
No, I'm hearing you just fine.
Okay, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Okay, so Andrew, if you guys haven't seen, oh, let's see, we got.
I don't know that if they can see me or not. I don't.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
I see you.
Oh, okay, there I am.
Yeah. So I've got. Oh, okay. Let's see. Hold on. We got. I'm getting some responses here. So I've got Windsor, Ontario, Canada from One Fast Buggy. Hello, Ricky Lynn. This is cool. Yep. Carl. Wow. Carl Schwerzinski. No echo. Good. Thank you. Bob, sound good. And from the Netherlands, I got Jan Nort. I don't know how else to say that. I don't know. I mean, it seems like the easiest way to pronounce it. So anyway, we've got Andrew here. And, you know, if you haven't seen his channel, you know, the Grease Rookie, he's the one building the 65 and a half on a budget. So that's pretty cool.
So how many people do you have possibly coming on here?
Well, right now, I might have a third.
Okay.
So Nick might be showing up. He's got a phone call going on. Okay, so
I can't see the comments. I'm so used to just watching the comments as we do this.
Yeah, that's what I've got to learn here how to do this, because I've got a message from Hindsight. Sound is good. If you're streaming on TV, the comments block Andrew's screen. Okay. So Andrew, you don't see the comments.
I do now. I just got them up here.
Oh, okay.
I think.
So I'm just, again, I'm learning as I go here. This is just kind of how it is. And let's see. All right, so there we go. Favorite place is a quiet, small. Let me just click on that. I like this because I can click on that. Look how cool that is. Pops up so everybody can see exactly what he's saying. And, you know, yeah, I had a friend. Go ahead.
I just said hi to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying to step over you. I'm just trying to figure this out as I go.
You're fine. You're fine.
But I had a friend of mine in Colorado sent me a picture of the interstate, which is normally packed full of cars, and he was the only car on the interstate, and the Rocky Mountains were in the background. And I was like, wait, there's mountains out there? That's crazy. So it was pretty cool. So Andrew, what have you been doing since you've been off the last time?
I finally got the rear end pulled off the car.
Okay.
So you saw me trying to get the leaf springs off in my last video. They're off. And now that I have the rear end out, I need to replace the pinion seal.
Okay.
And I want to repaint it and rebuild the leaf springs because I'm, doing this on a budget. So I'm going to replace the bushings and shackles, and I want to get that back in and move on to more body work, which is going to be the doors probably. I spoke with you about that earlier this week.
Right.
Someone recommended that I actually do the doors first so that I can make sure all my body lines line up correctly. So that's where I'll be going after the rear end.
Okay. Now, are you taking the leaf springs apart, breaking down the stack, or are you going to keep them together?
No, I was just going to keep them together, sand them down, and repaint them unless you're offering other advice.
Well, you don't. You could leave them that way. It's not going to probably hurt. I doubt they've had any serious stress loads, pushing on them. A lot of people will take them apart, clean everything out in between, and then they make a center bolt. The center bolt can get wear and rust, so it's debatable. I mean, if you do it, you're going to have to cut that bolt probably to get it out, and have to buy the replacement. And you also see where they have like little pieces of rubber. They stack up typically in between the end of the leaves, just to help reduce chatter.
Yes.
So they're quiet. So I don't know if they sell anything like that.
Okay. I think what I'm going to do is repaint these ones, get the new bushings in, and move on with it. I do want to get underneath the car taken care of as well.
Sure.
I'd like to evaluate the rust under there, get some POR 15 underneath it, if everything is good enough to be coated with that, and then move on to the body.
Okay.
So
you're not working on it tonight, obviously.
I don't know yet. I did get the work done yesterday, but
okay.
Yeah, it's been a kind of a crazy day. The coronavirus is affecting everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to hit us all even harder over the next few weeks. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Let me see what I got. Some comments here. Doug Redware, an owner of a large company, prepaid his lunches for a year at his local restaurant. That's pretty cool. Paying it forward like that because, they need the money. They're going to have the money and just to stay in business. Stein, did either of you ever do a restoration on a BMW? Not a restoration. I've done some collision repair work on BMWs, but not a restoration. Not really on my radar. Yeah, we're practically going green now. We can cancel the carbon tax. Yeah. Well, what's interesting, if you haven't seen the videos, there's pictures or a video over in Venice where the canals, normally, if you look at those canals, they're green with apparently pollution. I don't know why they were green in the first place, but I never really thought about it. I just always saw them green. And recently they showed them where they're crystal clear, or really clear. I won't say crystal clear, but really clear. And there's fish and, swans and all kinds of animals now because it's not polluted. I find that pretty amazing, just crazy. Let's see. Leonard, the guy borrowed $50,000 to pay his employees at a pizza restaurant. If he was close, I'd buy pizzas from him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And it's, I know, Andrew, you if you don't want to mention what you do or not, that's fine. But,
yeah,
I mean, you make videos.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I make videos. I actually work in the hunting industry, and I do a lot of marketing stuff for a company that works in the hunting industry. And I'm in Pennsylvania, and we just got shut down because we are not a life-sustaining business. Fortunately, I can work from home. So that's what I'm doing. But I was able to get into work today. That's why it's been a crazy day to get some necessities. But yeah, it's kind of a very surreal experience here in PA so far.
Yeah. But you say you can work from home, so it's more about like editing and stuff like that. You can do it at home, or how's that?
I handle the social media platforms for the company, so it's a lot of coordinating with people we have sponsorships with, and just making sure our social media is up to date, things like that. We have our own channel on YouTube, so I do a lot of managing with that. So just a lot of places to have my head at once.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, as long as something's, you're still going to do something. That's good.
I'm very fortunate there.
Yeah, Stein, Andrew has gone green.
I know. Yeah.
He's got the green wall, green.
Yeah. I'm in my bedroom.
Heath, I work. Yeah. Heath, I work for FedEx, and we're all working trying to get all the medical supplies out there to everyone. Yeah. And you know what? Here's an interesting fact that's probably worth sharing. I know we talk about, people will beat up like Harbor Freight because, hey, they're cheap tools and blah, blah, blah. Well, Harbor Freight did a big donation of all their N95 masks from the 3M, the one that's recommended for people to use. They donated their entire supply of those masks, face shields, and all of their gloves that they had in inventory. They said, we'll donate it to any hospital that needs them. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then also Lowe's is doing the same thing. They're donating all their stuff, or $10 million worth of stuff, whatever it is, to the cause, which I think is really cool. You know, it's nice to see these big businesses get on board and try to help out. Let's see, GM Car Guy, I can buy gift cards, or you can buy gift cards from, let me just click on that. Look at that. I'll just make it easy. Look at that. That's so much cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Hey, it looks like we've got Nick. Let me see if I can get Nick on here. Okay, now we've got 3 people.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
And Nick's got the fancy stuff. He's got the headphones and the probably has a mic set up. So that's cool. That's really
good. I look like a vampire.
Well, Nick has the advantage of having a studio kind of set up, to help him out.
Yeah.
And I have a generic fluorescent light in front of me that's lighting me up. So that's kind of.
I was going to go with the go live from the garage in the shed, but it's cold outside and rainy and everything else. And I was like, it's probably safer just to stay inside and not risk getting sick. I'm also in PA as well, Grease Rookie. So I feel your pain as far as all the announcements today, and it's getting crazy here.
Yeah.
Very surreal.
Yeah. And Nick has a lot going on too. He does a lot. He's doing a lot of videos and with different venues and all kinds of stuff. So he's, he has a different connection than you, Andrew, but definitely I know that's going to affect the things you're doing, right, Nick?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's actually been nonstop for us. I mean, fortunately for us, we're still operational. We're all just working from home. We've suspended a couple of the services that we're doing for right now, but at the same time, it's, not a lot of video production on site right now and things like that. So it's basically, as much remote service as we can. And my team is working from home. So you guys got to do we're just taking extra precautions, even though we could still be at the office.
Air compressor.
There it is. There we go.
Oh, you brought sound effects with you, Nick.
Yeah, exactly. I have some, but I can't use them on the Streamyard because I normally use OBS as well to stream. But is my audio okay too? By the way, I didn't.
Yeah, you're great.
Level.
Yeah.
All right.
You sound fine. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, everyone. Looks like we mixed it up this. Wait a minute. What's that say? Hey, everyone. Looks like we mixed it up this week. I like it. Oh, okay. Danny, cool. All right. So I like that. I really like that feature that you can just click on it. So we have, wow, there's a good name. Mishal Al-Zahrani. I'll just say that. How about that? Well, let me know if I got that right. Mishal Al-Zahrani. Okay. I'm going to say you weren't born in New York. Oh, maybe you were. I'm not. Let us know where you're from, Michelle. I don't know how else to say that. Stein's asking me what happened to the "I'm happy with that" T-shirts. They're still on the back burner somewhere. I wanted to come up with a logo for that, and just haven't. I don't have any PR people or managers or anything like that. So it's always on me to figure that out. So, let's see. Yeah, this is really cool. So, Andrew, I know you said after you get the rear end out, you're going to clean everything up, put it back together, and then you talked about the doors, and I know we talked about the hinges.
Yes.
You're going to try to take on the hinge repair.
I want to take the doors off and see what condition the hinges are in. I'm assuming I should probably most likely just repair them, or just go ahead while I have everything off and do the repair kit with the hinges. I mean, I watched your video where you demonstrated, whether or not they should be repaired, and it seems like they can have a little bit of wiggle, but not much.
Right.
So I just need to find where they're at.
And it's not over, exactly, critical that you have to do that. I've done it before where I haven't messed with them at all. And even with a little bit of play in them, you can put a little bit of preload on them, so the load carries on that bottom end of that pivot point. But it's cheap. The kit's not that expensive.
That was the other thing that that is one of the cheaper, repairs you can do. So I might go that route just to be
right.
done.
And then I know that Nick did a video last week I thought was pretty cool. He did a chainsaw review. That video, man, is like wild right now. It has like 20,000 plays in a week.
Yeah.
You got the guys that come out of the woodwork that, I'm not a pro. I've been running saws since I was 12, but a lot of the guys were really cool. I mean, a lot of people had good comments, but I've been running saws for a while. And I thought about doing that little review just to show it. And that was wild, but it's been garage time. I don't know about you guys, but I've done more in the garage in the last week of all this going on things that I never have time to do, like clean up the tools, put some tool oil on them, organize things. I got my suicide extension cord done for my generator. I got like just random things in the garage, organization stuff, put a shelf up. And that's what I've been killing time doing. I mean, aside from the tech stuff, it's been out in the garage the last couple of days.
Yeah. And it's, if you look behind me, I don't know if you can still see it or not. I don't know how much I can only see like this much of my screen now, but I've still got the hoist here. The engine's still hanging. That I'm trying to get that engine figured out, and I've got a lot of feedback on that video test fitting the engine in Brooklyn Pony, and it's been the bulk of them have voted on, let's say, modifying the cross member, and that's what I was going to do anyway. I'm not going to cut that oil pan. I'm not going to break open the seals. And I've already talked to the owner, so we're on board with that. So that's what we're going to do is just modify that cross member. I've got some other comments here. Yeah, Michelle is from Saudi Arabia. See? I knew that wasn't somebody here in the U.S. And I'm glad you're here, Michelle. Brian says give yourself a bell. Okay, I gave myself a bell for doing this stream. Let's see. Put the Joe Daddy's Garage logo on it. Well, I could do that on the if you're talking about the t-shirts. And great. So Brian did the hinge repair. And I've had a couple people respond on that as well. One of the big responses I got was the fact that I had done everything with a punch and the vise and hitting it with a hammer and all this stuff. And they're like, you need a press. You need to have a press. Well, I agree with that. However, not everybody's going to go buy a press to do hinge pin repair. If they buy this $100 press and they use it one time to replace a couple of hinge kits, what's the point? So I like doing things in some ways. I like to do things that's like, hey, if you just have a handful of tools, you can still do this. I kind of try to approach it that way.
Yeah. In regards to what you were saying earlier about Harbor Freight, for someone like me that, is just now getting into this stuff, I have a huge appreciation for a store like Harbor Freight. Even if the tools don't last as long, it still gets me through the project. And, when I'm working on a budget, it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. So, okay. So I'm just trying to make sure. I know Nick has done this a lot with this multi-person thing going on. And I see you responded to GM guy. Says, I hear you. So you're.
I can show that comment, right? Because it shows it was like held for review.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit show. Yeah, because usually it'll just hide like if it's potentially inappropriate. But you can actually switch too, Barry.
Okay.
You can switch the layout between us if you'd like. Like you can make us all. There's several layouts in the
right on the bottom.
Yeah,
I see it has. I'm just going to click on it to just see what it does. So I've got this one.
There you go. Yep. So that'll give you the fuller view of each of our areas.
So I'm learning some things. And then there's this one, which so I don't know which one's better. I don't know which one people would prefer. So you can, I don't know. I don't know how to say vote on it. It's like, which one do you like? The upside down pyramid or the 1 and 2 or 1 and 2?
I like that one. Put me down in the corner.
Put you down in the corner. I don't know if I can move you. I think once you're there, you're there. So, I got new comments. Yeah.
Yeah,
Robert.
the comments too. If you're on the StreamYard comments, they'll be delayed a little bit. So if you're in the chat, just know that when you chat, sometimes it takes about 10 to 20 seconds sometimes to load a comment in the StreamYard side. So that's why, like, I have the YouTube chat up here, and I can see them, like, you know, a little bit less delayed. But yeah,
Gotcha. Okay, so I got 1 for upside down pyramid. 2 equal size is good. Well, I've got 3. Oh, okay. So it's going to be, you're not going to, everybody's going to have a different opinion on what's the best layout here. But okay. See, and you can't put a number up because Bob puts up a 3, GM guy puts 2. So I don't know how to label that. So anyway, what I know I was talking about Nick's, let me do this. Come back to Nick. There we go. When you were doing that chainsaw video, I know you had cut it was like about a 1 foot diameter.
Yeah, about 1 foot. Yep.
Tree. And how many cuts did you get? Did you count them out? How many you got with each saw? Or,
you know, I wanted to, but we were kind of rushed and it was getting dark out. So
okay,
I kind of just, I didn't really count them. I mean, in the video, I know we got a good bit of cuts. Like the saw actually performed well for what it is. But you're going to have all kinds of types. It's just, you know how YouTube is. And I'm sure the chat knows you could tighten a screw on YouTube and half the people are going to say it's too loose. Half of the people are going to say it's too tight. Some people are going to say you're using the wrong screwdriver, you know, things like that. So, but overall pretty good response. But the saw, I just did that as a test because I was kind of like, their marketing, the way they approached it. If they would have approached it as, you know, there is use for electric saws, as far as, you know, chainsaws, of course, for, you know, people that maybe older people that can't pull the cord anymore, don't want to mess around with it. Contractors that are start and stop on, you know, start and stopping is the worst thing for a chainsaw. So that's a good use if you're starting to stop in a lot. If you're indoors, if you're cutting 4x4 posts and 6x6, stuff like that, there's a lot of good, you know, Milwaukee makes, they all make one now.
okay.
But the way that they market it was like, oh, beats a 50cc gas chainsaw. And I was like, well, we'll see. The things it definitely cut out on me a couple times. You know, I don't know if it's an overheat or some kind of safety. You're not going to run a full chisel chain on it, most likely, because it's going to, the more it bites, the more, you know, it has the torque and the power, so it'll probably cut, but then you have run into does it overheat the battery, overheat the system and go into shutdown mode. Right. So, I mean, it's, I live in 2 battery worlds as far as in the garage, Milwaukee M12 and DeWalt 20 volt. So I try to stick in those 2 tools. If most people are in a battery system, I guess that's what they sell you on because that's where they make all their monies is the batteries. Sure. But to have a whole different, you know, when you look at that saw for $299 or 189 bucks,
you were out the door for 360 or something like that.
Yeah, 360 out the door, and that's just with 1 battery. If you have a tool like that, like even my saw or my battery operated miter saw, you always have to have an extra battery. So at that, you're at 460 bucks. At 460 bucks, aside from the cutting indoors or not being able to pull the cord or things like that, I just think there's so many other options out there. But I mean, and a lot of people have said that on the comments. I mean, the video's doing pretty well, and it's like nonstop. But yeah.
Well, and like if you haven't seen the video, it was entertaining to watch. You know, Nick run this chainsaw. It's on Nickpixeltv. You can go look at it. But he was comparing a brand new Harbor Freight chainsaw to a variety of other gas-powered chainsaws, and it was pretty interesting to see because, you know, as we come along in the 20th century, 21st century, whatever, we're getting more and more battery-powered items. And, you know, I've done it myself where I've shown on my other channel the weed eater that I bought and the leaf blower that I bought, stuff like that. So I think there's generally, definitely a market for, this electric stuff. And what I've really found entertaining was at the end of it, Nick lost his keys.
Oh my God.
He's out in the middle. It's dark outside. It's dark, and he's out there trying to find his keys. And what do you have attached to your key ring?
So my neighbor got me a tile for Chris. Like, everybody knows that I'm the, like, honestly, everybody in the chat, I'm the worst with keys. So I've left my keys in the freezer, getting something out of the freezer before, and couldn't find my keys for 4 hours because they were in the freezer. So the running joke was, we're going to get Nick this little device, and my neighbor's son, he's like 14 years old, ran to Best Buy and got me, it's actually right here. It's a tile, and this tile is controlled by the phone. So I can find my phone or my keys, vice versa. And we go out to, I took the 78 F-150 out, and I love driving that truck when I can. And we took the 78. I go out there. We do the whole saw video. We're in a rush at the end. I'm cranking the ISO and the camera just to get as much. I mean, the camera was overworked.
Right.
We get this all done. My neighbor's son's with me. We film it. And my main keys are for my GMC truck. And I get the whole way home, and I'm like, oh my God, where's my keys at? Because I'm just using my little 78 key. And I'm like, this is not good. And we're looking all around the house. I'm like, I had it right before we left. So I'm looking in the garage. I'm looking through the house. I'm like, I'm kind of screwed. And then I remembered that I had the tile. So the tile only works if you're within range. I think like maybe 100 feet or a couple hundred, like 300 feet maybe, or something like that. And I'm like, well, let me search for it. And it says the last time it was pinged or I used it was about a week ago. So I'm like, this isn't good. So, and I just changed phones because my cellular, like my phone got smashed. So I had to get a replacement. So I didn't even have the app installed on my new phone. So I go back to my old phone. I search for it. I'm like, it's not here, because if it was in 100, 200 feet radius of my house, it would show it.
Yeah.
So I drive up there and I'm hitting the button, and it's like still not seeing the tiles. And it takes a couple seconds to kick back in. So I must have got within like 100 feet. I knew it had to be somewhere between the trail we walked up, and we're with flashlights, pitch black. And I was like, and it just said, like, I'm just gonna get home. We'll have to come back in the daylight tomorrow. And just as we were walking out of the woods, I look at the phone, and it's like, your keys are in range. And I hit the button, and you can hear the music playing under like 4 inches of sawdust. I would have never found those keys even the next day. So that really saved me. And they make one for like your wallet. I have one for my wallet. And but the key one is really, it is really convenient.
Cool. I mean, I'd never seen those before. So when I saw that in a video, I thought that's pretty handy, but there are people, like you're saying, who have,
like me, like you could say it, like me,
who lose stuff pretty quick.
I need one for every tool in the garage.
Yeah,
there you go. So you need like a little like a chart on or hanging on the wall with a tile on each one, right? And say, where's this one? Beep 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 beep. You go find it. Yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. I'd never seen that before. And then you said tile, and I was like, what is that? I don't know what that, I mean, I still haven't researched it because I'm pretty proactive with keys. I keep really good track of stuff like that because I have a lot of keys. With all the cars I have around, I have a lot of keys. So I have to keep up with it. I wanted to, some of these comments I was posting up, and, Stein is he's buying a new welder. That's pretty cool. We got Darlene from Alaska. I've communicated with her a few times, I believe. And of course we got, Saudi Arabia. I'm waiting for, what I haven't seen yet, and maybe it'll show up. I remember these names because I don't know why. Certain names I remember. And like Tom Paget, he's from France, and he showed up on the last couple of these later in the show or whatever. But he, I was watching a show on, I don't know what it was, some sort of motocross show, and it was this guy showed up it was the Red Bull series, motocross series, and the guy's name is Tom Paget. I was like, is that the same Tom that's showing up? But I don't think it is, because this one had an extra T on the end of it. But anyway, it was really kind of interesting to see that name pop up again. So there you go. VW Insanity's talking to you, Grease Rookie. he gave a shout out to you. I don't know if you see it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Angela, I work in microbiology. My life is crazy right now. Let's click on that. There you go. Yeah. So she's got a 66 Mustang coupe. I think she had mentioned before that she might do a video for the viewers projects. So, you know, I've had several people respond on that. Obviously, Andrew had the first one, and you know, I've kind of made a game of it where I'm trying to memorize each one of these as I go along. So I'm up to, I guess, 8. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep pulling that off, but you know, I kind of make a mental connection with each car and each person who has that car. So just one of those weird kind of things that I do. But anyway, so if anybody's looking at doing that, you know, the last one with Gene, of course, everybody's commenting, says, you know, Gene and I could be brothers. We obviously have a similar facial hair and stuff like that. So anyway, so, you know, I know there's one or two more people working on videos for that. And so there should be more of those coming out pretty soon. Nick should do one on his Ford.
On the 78.
Yeah, on the 78 F-150.
I want, man, people on my channel I've been like sprinkling it in. If you've noticed in some of the videos, I sprinkle it in here and there, and guys are, you know, it's funny on some of the videos where they're like, you know, screw the truck or screw the chainsaws or whatever I was filming. They're like, tell me a little bit more about the 78. So I do want to do that for you. I just need one, to be able to leave the house legally.
Yeah.
Like Andrew, and 2, because right now I think we're like all stay at home notice. So
Yeah.
Sure.
Once the weather breaks and the salt's off the road and stuff like that, I'm going to clean the truck up, and I want to do. I have a couple creative videos I want to do for myself, and then I want to do something cool for you as well. So
Okay.
that should be a fun project.
Well, we've got a question for Andrew. I've got it pulled up on the screen there if you can see it.
Oh, the welding?
Yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. I think, Barry, I talked to you, and a lot of people pointed out one of my bigger issues right now is the amount of black soot that I'm
Right.
getting on my weld. And I will just go on the record and say that before I've welded any of the metal that you've seen me weld, I did not clean it off with acetone or
Lacquer thinner or anything.
yeah. All I did was either try welding it after I sand it or just wipe it down really good with a rag.
Okay.
So I haven't hit the welding yet with clean metal, but I'm going to try that. I'm going to try a few more settings because I've gotten a lot of input from guys. And the other thing that I have going on is that welder. I don't know if that welder has a rating on it for the pound spool that you can put in it.
Right.
I actually don't have the manual that came with it, and I haven't been able to find them online because it's an older welder. But
Okay.
one guy mentioned that it seems my welds seem to be starting out cold and then suddenly they heat up, and he thought it was an issue with a variance in my wire speed. And that is consistent with me thinking that the thing is struggling a bit when it first starts pulling that 11-pound spool.
Right.
So I might play around with that. I might try to rig something up where I can put a lot of that wire on something smaller. And
Are you welding hard wire, or are you welding flux core?
Solid.
Okay.
Not flux core. I'm using argon and CO2 with solid MIG wire.
So 75-25 or what it mix?
Yeah, it's the mix. Yep.
Yeah, and it's weird that it's doing that. Now I don't know that it's because I don't know. It seems like there's something coming out of the metal in the way I look at it, because it's making soot. So what you might want to try is take a sanding disc and sand over the flanges where you're going to be welding. Sand that down a little bit, break that surface just to see, you know, if there's anything there. You can go back probably, you know, ½ inch or whatever on either side of the seam and just clean it up. Experiment with it, see what happens. Now, as far as the welder not handling the 11-pound spool, well, the welder doesn't care what that spool weighs. It's going to affect it a little bit, but if you had an 8-pound spool, it'd probably do the same thing. It's going to pull it off of that, and it rolls off that. You know, so you could feed it if you wanted to. You can do experiments with that. Put it up against your
send me a video. send me a video of what it's doing, because I
Yeah.
welded professionally for like 5 years. So
Oh, there you go. Well, you could probably look at his videos. He's got them on his channel.
does he have it on his channel? I'll have
Yeah.
to look at it later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, if you put the wire against your finger and just pull the trigger, see if it's pushing your finger away, because the wire is going to consume as it burns, burns down. But if it has enough strength to really push on your finger, I don't think it's a feed issue. I think it's something else. I know I've had issues where it wouldn't feed, and I've had to clean out the sleeve. It'll get debris in there from the rollers have little teeth in them that bite the wire and push it. And so I've had it to where the center gets filled up with little tiny shavings, and you got to take it all apart and clean that out so it doesn't, have resistance. Little things like that you don't know about it till you start doing this like a lot.
I've picked up on a lot. I will say it has absolutely been a reality check.
Yeah.
Everybody says welding is an art and it's hard, but there's so much content available now on the internet where you can read about it, watch videos on it, and before you even try it, you consider yourself almost an expert. You're like, well, okay, I'm doing spot welds. I'm literally going to be holding the thing, welding for like 2 seconds, a second at a time. What can possibly go wrong? If I have all my settings correct, like, this is going to be easy. And it isn't.
Well, let me recommend a channel to you, by the way. A guy that I know, I've known him. Well, I don't know him like close friends. I worked with him years ago, and he was the welding instructor where I work. Okay, his channel is Welding Tips and Tricks.
Okay.
So you look him up. His name is Jody, and he has all kinds of videos on there. It's mostly TIG, but he does have MIG weld stuff on there too. So you might look at him and just to get some ideas. Welding Tips and Tricks.
Yeah, I'm punching it in there. So
yeah, pull him up and have a look at it. Really, really smart guy, and he's trained literally probably thousands or hundreds of or thousands of professional welders. So, yeah, here's a comment from Stein. To give the Brooklyn Pony back to its owner when it's done must be feeling like giving your child away. Yeah, yeah. It's going to be interesting. Chip Schweiss went and bought original NOS quarters. Probably a good move. I don't know where you found those, but I bet they weren't cheap. I know that stuff adds up really fast. And I'm sorry if I'm missing any of these comments. We're communicating here and just kind of, passing through. And yep, there you go. VW Insanity, Jody of Welding Tips and Tricks. See, told you. Right there's one of the comments. And like I said, yeah. So like I said, I know this guy. I've worked with him years ago. He quit working where I work just to do videos. He's got like 500,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So that's all he does now. He just makes YouTube videos.
I just glanced at your video. It could be the cleaning of the metal. You always want to run like a flap disc across, clean it up first, and then what's your gas pressure set at?
Believe it or not, my gas pressure is probably too high. I know it's too high. I have it turned all the way up to 30 right now because I was convinced part of the reason the soot was forming was because there was not enough gas. And it didn't seem to make a difference, and I need to turn it back down.
That or unscrew your tip a little bit too, so that your line's like sitting inside the tip just a tad bit.
Okay.
Because sometimes if the tip's out too far, it's not gonna. I mean, I just glanced quickly, but I'll have to look at it later on when we're off the stream, and maybe I can help you out there. Yeah,
any feedback, much appreciated.
VW Insanity, you can post a link. That's fine. To Jody's channel. That's fine. Carl, I'm a novice at welding. Oh, let me just click on that. That's so much easier.
You're getting used to it now.
I love it. Because, I can read this stuff, but this is cool. Yeah. Yeah, that's a nice machine. That's a really nice machine. But they're not cheap. Anything with let's see, multi-process, anything, like that is not going to be cheap.
An MP machine is definitely expensive, but they are sweet. There's
Sure.
No doubt about it.
There's hindsight's come up with. Oh wait, no, that's not it. I missed it. Here he is. So see, Jody trained him to pass a welding test at work. Lots of people have. Oh, Vitamin Sandy got blocked. Sorry, that's okay. We'll not worry about that. 771,000 subscribers on Jody's channel, so he's got something going right. Okay, we'll see you, Ricky. Glad you were here. So anyway, check him out. Any of you, if you want some knowledge of welding, look at welding tips and tricks, and you'll learn some stuff. Like I said, real nice guy. His videos are really, I think he does a great job, because whatever he's using for a filter or screen on the welding process, like I've tried to do it before. People have asked me to do welding videos, and it's really hard to film because it just blinds you. You can't see what's going on. But whatever he's using, I tried using actually even a hood. I tried filming through a hood to get to show, but it's still hard. It's still hard to pull off. So I don't know, Nick, you got any insight on that?
Well, I was actually thinking about that because I'm doing a little test. I got those new DeWalt 20-volt power detect grinder the other day, and if you're going to be a welder, you got to be a good grinder too, they say. So, but I picked that up, and what I was thinking was I was actually going to make a rig. I thought about making a video on that to film welding. So a lot of times you use an ND filter, which I don't have, like a variable ND filter. Let me see if I have one.
What does NV stand for?
It's ND, as in November Delta. But it's a variable filter. This will definitely, what this does is it's basically like sunglasses for your lens.
Okay.
So if you take, I don't even know if this is the right size. This one might be from either camera. Yeah, this one's from either camera. But basically this would go in front of your lens.
Okay.
This one's variable, so you have a minimum and a maximum. And as you twist it, it'll get darker and darker.
Cool. So
this is an option. And then I also thought about taking one use for maybe a Harbor Freight shield, because I run a 3M speed glass, but maybe getting a cheaper Harbor Freight with the bigger screen that's the auto sense, and just taking the unit out and putting that right against the front of the lens, so it would automatically kick in, and when you're filming. Right. So I wanted to try that. I don't want to recommend and say do that but it should work. I mean, it should prevent any kind of problems.
As you mentioned that, I have somewhere around here, I have the Harbor Freight, one of the cheap Harbor Freight auto.
Does it have the small screen or the big screen?
I think it has the big screen.
Yeah, if your lens would fit into that, if you flush mounted that up against, now you're still going to be susceptible to glare. Anytime you put anything in front of the lens itself, you could get different glares. But for the most part, I thought that would be a.
It's the small screen.
See, that one's not going to work because your lens is usually typically wider.
Right. Yeah, I've got my little camcorder is what I use. I'm not using my good cameras. I've got that Canon, that little camera that I use.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, NDs. I mean, they make them for almost every camera. I tell people even when they film with GoPros, like for the guys in the garage and they film with a GoPro, they make ND kits for the GoPro, and you can see, like, it's hard to tell, but if you should be able to see my eye through through that one, and then this one would be like a little bit darker.
Yep.
And then you're gonna have like really dark, but these ones might not be strong enough for like welding per se.
Right.
But there's definitely in shooting manual too. That's the other key is when you're filming welding, you want to use the camera to darken up everything in the camera. You're not gonna be able to see anything when you have the camera on, but if you go into manual settings and turn your ISO all the way down and your frame rate up, so that basically you're only the camera itself's only letting so much light in.
Right.
Now you won't be able to film. You won't be able to see what you're doing, if you're looking through the lens. So you can darken up the camera as much as the camera will allow you to, and then you put on an ND filter on top of that, and you could probably you'll get yourself a really clear view.
Yeah, we may have to discuss that later on to get the information for that, but
no doubt.
It sounds interesting because, like I said, I would like to show some, but for me, I don't know, because I've been welding since I was 10.
Yeah, yeah. I started with a stick.
Yeah, that's what I did. I welded with a Lincoln 220 stick welder, and I was actually putting cars together with a stick welder, which you're not supposed to do, or be able to do. But anyway, so when I'm welding, my mind doesn't process what I'm doing. My hand and it's just I just fix and go or adjust, whatever. I don't think about it. So when I try to explain it to somebody, even for Andrew here, I'm like, well, you gotta, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things. Like
you can almost hear it.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can hear sizzle and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're trying to teach somebody how to paint, you can show them how to paint, but they have to get their hand in there and they have to make those strokes and whatever. So anyway.
I know for someone like me, when I'm watching videos, I'm looking at every single detail. I'm trying to figure out the smallest things, like what is he doing with the tip of his nozzle? Is he starting on the seam? Is he starting right up to the side of it? And I'm sure there's a lot of videos that guys put up where they don't even go into basic details like that. But for beginners like me, at least for me, I'm hungry for stuff like that.
Sure.
The more information I can get on it, the better.
Right.
We could add a welding training video session tonight in the garage, Barry. You could have just set it up and started.
Yeah. Well, and like I've said, it's one of those things where you talk about starting on a seam or, center or edge. To me, it starts off with how big is the gap? What do I have to do? If I'm doing like a quarter panel where I have various gaps, I'll actually start at the edge and drag the weld down. I'll make little bridges, all the way across if I have to. And then I'll work each one of those bridges together piece by piece by piece, because you're not always going to have a perfect seam, So that's one of the techniques you have to kind of, how do I make this connect? And you can't just float out in space and hope for the best. You may start building a little bubble or a hump.
I'd start
walk it over.
I agree with that. I'd start with the thickest metal, or not the thickest metal, but start with like some quarter-inch tube or something, or quarter-inch plate, and just and run the L, just a T-bone, and weld on both sides, tack it up, and try some thicker metal first, because I think that's where you're not going to get a feel for welding. It's on the thinner metal to start. I would recommend getting some thicker metal and then practicing. You'll hear the sound. Turn your welder on like 5, and then a lot of times people have their wire speed too fast or too slow. If you're too slow, you'll start seeing the gaps where the wire's kind of like arcing. If you're too fast, it just
pops up.
Yeah, the best thing to do for you before you go to thin metal, because thin metal, you're either going to blow through it, you're going to get it too hot, you're not going to be hot enough, and you're going to have bubbles. So you want to just go some thicker metal, get some quarter-inch plate, and mess around for a little bit until you have that bead. Look for porosity, look for undercut. If you can put your thumbnail in the weld itself, that's gonna tell you, like, on your angle, like say it's like this, and you're welding here, you want to make sure it's like kind of flat on both sides of the metal, and you're getting burn in to both sides. So you really almost have to have a thicker metal, I think, to get it down, and then you just take where your settings are at, scale it back for the thinner metal, and that time sometimes you are going to blow through it. I mean, it's tough.
Yep, I agree.
And the wire size, what size wire are you using? 23?
0.025, I think, or 24.
Yeah, 23 to 25 is what you need for sheet metal.
Yeah.
What I use. So we got some comments going on. I'm just gonna. Carl says he got the same helmet. Well, that was the old helmet. I quit using that because I was worried about my eyes. So I got a much better helmet than I'm using now. It's a Miller. I forget what the name is. Let me see got some new comments. Yeah, there's GM guy. Try 20-25 with trigger pulled. So that way you can see when you hit the trigger, the pressure drops. So just know that. What you show on the gauge,
yeah,
when you hit the trigger, it's going to drop. So you can't you can preset, but you got to watch it, and see what happens when you hit the trigger. What happens? So like I weld at like 15 pounds.
Okay.
I don't have any issues.
That's where I'm at. That's
That
where,
makes
that's
me
where I'm
wonder.
at.
I have the gauge that has the ball that floats in the
Okay.
and when I'm not pulling the trigger, it's all the way at the bottom. Okay.
Well, that's probably what it's going to do.
And then when I pull the trigger is when it goes up. And what I was doing was I was just pulling it and trying to adjust it while I was holding the trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm not a fan of those type of gauges, but they do work.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, when you stop, it drops because it's it's gravity.
Yeah.
So that's how that works. Carl asked me what the issue was with the helmet. Well, I think these cheaper Harbor Freight helmets, and I mentioned this to Andrew too. I said you don't want to. I already have enough problem with light as it is. I don't like bright lights or nothing like it bothers me severely. So these cheaper helmets can have a slower response. It may look fast, but it may not be fast. We don't see it happen, but it could have more of a delay than a high dollar helmet. There's a reason why they're cheap. So just know that if you're trying to protect, you're doing lots and lots of welding, you want to have a nice helmet, something that's going to protect your eyes because you burn out your retinas, you're done.
I had flash burn one time really, really bad.
Yeah.
And that was probably worse pain than anything that I've done physically to my body. Was crying all day, crying.
Yeah.
And sandpaper. It's hard to even describe. And any wind, any little bit of air fluctuation, hot to cold, that was the worst. To me, I spend the money on a shield just because I don't trust. You know what I mean? That's just kind of where I'm at. I don't skimp on that kind of stuff because you got to get two eyeballs.
Well, I've got a question from Michelle. What's next for Broken Pony? I like that. He calls it the Broken Pony. I like that. I'm sure that's autocorrect, but I think that's cool. The Broken Pony. What is the next plan for the engine pan interface with cross member? I'm going to modify the cross member. I'm going to leave the pan alone. I don't want to take the pan off. I don't want to modify the pan. I don't want to do anything that's going to break the seal on that engine. And I know that's it can be done, but that engine's brand new and built by Ford Performance. I am not taking anything off of it that I don't have to. Like, I pulled the carburetor and distributor because I had to put it in the car, but I'm not going to play with those other items. So I will modify the cross member, and that's probably going to be tomorrow. I'm going to work on that and try to get that thing fit the way it should. So it'll be later in the week that I come up with a video on that, but just know that's the plan. So, okay. So
all this welding talk reminded me that I should go fill up my gas because I'm getting low. And, I just saw the company put a notification out today that they're still working, but, because they're filling bottles up for hospitals and everything else.
Oh, sure.
That's something to do. I should probably put that in the list. I got propane, fuel, diesel, kerosene, everything this past week. So
you're all set. Yeah, here's a comment from Stein. And yeah. So that's a pretty good comment.
Yeah. I learned it real quick.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time.
Yeah, and you just can't rush it. I mean, like I said, I learned on a stick welder, and nobody taught me anything. I watched my dad and my brother do it, and I was like, well, I'll figure it out. And that's what I took, burning up rods and
sticking them and turning them red, blowing them all the time.
Well, and I've said it before, this is the crazy part about it. We had a hood, a generic hood. I don't know what the shade of lens was, 10 or 11, but it didn't have the headgear. It didn't have this. I didn't even know they came with that. I didn't know that. So from the time I was 10 years old, I would just grab the mask, grab the hood and hold it in front of my face and weld. And so we're talking forever, years and years and years have gone by. And I finally, in the last, it's probably been 10 years now since I started on YouTube. I would start to weld with my MIG or anything, and I would my right hand or my left hand, even though I had the hood with the band on, my left hand I would reach up and grab that thing and then weld. It wasn't going anywhere. It was just because I trained myself that way. That's how I did it. And I was thinking, why am I grabbing this? What am I doing? You know? And so now what I do when I'm welding is I weld with one hand and I've got the other hand using it as a guide, or I'll plant a finger and a thumb somewhere and use, push it around where I want it so I have more control. And I can weld freehand, but having that second hand on there and making nice patterns and stuff like that is really beneficial. So now that I have a hood that I can count on, I don't have to guess where I'm, kind of welding stuff. Yeah, Leonard, nothing worse than burning your eyes when welding. Yeah. Here's another thing. This is kind of, when I was trying to teach my oldest son, show him how to weld a little bit when he was young. And, you tell kids something and they don't listen to you. It's just the way they are. So I was having to weld something, and because of whatever I was doing and still having that mindset where I was grabbing the hood, I was welding something together. So I was holding it with my hand and I was getting ready to weld, and I would tell him, don't look, turn away. And I would shut my eyes. I could weld with my eyes shut. I've been doing it so long. And I would weld that together and I'd check it and weld it together. Well, I found out years later, he wouldn't shut his eyes. He's there watching and weld. And he couldn't figure out why his eyes were messed. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, well, you were watching. I said, no, I shut my eyes. But kids, they just think, oh, Dad's watching, I can watch. No, I wasn't watching. That was the thing. It was crazy. He told me that years later, and I was like, that's a wonder you can see it all. But what else we got? Yeah, Robert Adams. That's good. He calls it the tombstone welder. That's the 220. And you know what? I'm gonna if I'm still, it looks like I'm starting to lag. And I know it's where we at, hour and 12 minutes. Maybe it's a little too early, but I'm going to tell the story about the 220 welder. And I don't think I've shared this before. There's one guy, I forget who it is, comes up and asks about the junkyard stories, right? Well, here's a junkyard story in relation to the 220 stick welder. Okay. And mind you, it was a junkyard. So we did all kinds of stuff, built all kinds of things. And this particular time, I think I was probably 18 or so. And my brother, who is 6 years older than me, who is a phenomenal welder, he can outdo me any day. He was welding heavy floor pans into an old, I don't know if it was a Dodge or a Ford 4x4 truck, because the floor pans were just gone. Of course, nobody makes those back. We're talking late 80s or mid 80s, whatever. And so he was using like 1/8 inch steel or 3/16 steel and just making his own floor pans for this truck. Well, if you can picture this, we had a ground wire on that welder that it was several lengths of wire that was connected to each other. It wasn't just one full spool. And to do that, what you would normally do is take a piece of copper and you would put both ends into the piece of copper and smash it flat. And that would crimp the frayed ends together so that you could make an extension of a ground wire. So we had at least one connection of that. Now, he's working on this truck and it's out in the in front of the garage, which is just a packed dirt area. He had that ground wire out and attached to the truck. And so I wasn't really paying attention to it. And it was also, let me tell you up front, it was kind of raining. It had been a rainy day. So moisture on the ground, and this ground wire is on the ground and it's, making direct contact with this copper. So he's in there welding this stuff together, and I come over to check on him and say, hey, what's going on? Well, unintentionally, he was trying to goof around, and he took that rod, which it wasn't hot. It wasn't, but the end of the tip was exposed. And I was maybe slightly sweaty or damp from the moisture in the air. He put that rod against my chest. Now these things are powered. It's not like a MiG where you squeeze the trigger and it puts power in it. That stick has power in it. So he put that thing against my chest, and I'm just standing there like, I'm twitching. I can't even really talk. I don't know what he had the amperage set at, but I'm just kind of twitching. And he's looking at me and he's like, what? And he pulls the stick away, and I kind of just not collapse, but like, holy cow, So don't do that. Just saying, lesson learned. Don't put a hot stick or, live stick against somebody with the right moisture in the air and that sort of thing. But that was pretty crazy, but we both got a laugh out of it afterwards, but it wasn't very funny at the moment. So anyway, that's the junkyard story for today. There's plenty of those. So anyway, here we go. We got a comment from Vita Insanity.
Yeah, so he pointed out that I said, I made the point that the driver's side of my car is consistently the rustier side of my car. And his theory was that that's from passing oncoming traffic, spraying salt water and stuff up on that side of the car, which I thought was interesting.
It makes sense. I mean, it does to a point. It does make sense. I mean, typically, I grew up in the same area as Nick, so I know all about Pennsylvania and salt and all that stuff. But it's reasonable that cars passing each other, splashing. It's very reasonable that could be part of it. I never really paid attention to it. I just know they all rusted out, with salt. It was just the way it was. But yours is not that bad.
No,
So,
it's not too bad. But the driver's side is consistently worse the whole way down the side of the car.
right. I have a comment from Michelle. Any progress on using the TIG welder in the near future? There's going to be. I do have something planned to use the TIG, and it's not going to be necessarily on a car. I think it's going to be more of an art project that I have in mind. So I am working on something for that, for the other channel. That'll be on the Joe Daddy's Workshop channel. So I don't want to get guys bored with various things that I'm doing here. They want to see car videos. So anyway, Nick, what's up with you? What's your next project? You got something coming?
Me, I don't know right now. All the events are kind of postponed. We're working on a pretty cool maybe TV concept right now, but I mean, events right now are just nobody's doing any. I mean, it's funny to see, like, well, not funny, but it's crazy to see like all the different states and what they're doing, and everybody's like my buddies in Iowa. They're just now hitting the closing down non-essential businesses. We were there last week, so now it's like we're like a couple steps ahead of some of the other, and some people in some states are just like, hey, it's no big deal. I'm on, Grease Rookie probably would, I'm kind of like, you got to take it serious. You got to still live a little bit.
Right.
And it's just kind of like, you have to balance that. I mean, I wouldn't want to risk my health or my family's, but there's things we have to do. And it's crazy right now. And every couple hours there's new updates. So now PA is getting worse and worse. It's kind of moving. Pittsburgh, it started in Pittsburgh a lot. I think in Philly a lot. It's moving across the middle of the state. So I think you're going to see a lot more. I just think we're in like a hot zone in comparison to some other states. And it's hard to say. I think they're going to lock down more things and close more things. I mean, projects right now are just, everybody's scared to schedule anything or do anything. Some of the events, even the celebrities and stuff like that we've worked with, and like they're not even, scheduling anything. So right now it's just garage stuff and maybe some truck projects with the 78 and the mini bike build. That's gonna be a fun build. We're gonna do a torque converter. Changing the. I don't know if you guys, if anybody in the chat follows like the mini bike CT Coleman's, like the little.
Okay. Yeah.
With a lot of people put the Harbor Freight Predator 212s on them and modify those up, but we're going to convert it from chain drive to the belt drive, give it a little bit more torque and everything like that. So I'm going to probably do a video on that and just have a little fun in the garage.
There's a question up there for you, Nick.
I'm in PA, just out of Pittsburgh.
Oh, there we go. There's another one I put on the screen.
Oh,
what caused your flash burn on your eyes?
So the flash burn, actually, to this date, I don't know. It was at the company I worked for and at my job at the time. And I welded for years. So, I mean, I've always run the speed glasses, the 3M shields, and I always wear eye protection even under my shield. So usually that will, protect you against like the glare and stuff. But I must have just caught something that day, and I could tell my eyes were screwed up afterwards, but I was fine throughout the whole day. It was not till the next morning when I woke up. So
right.
My eyes were fine most of the day, maybe a little bloodshot, and I didn't even think anything of it. And the next morning, I came home from a 12-hour shift. The next morning, I woke up, and my eyes, I couldn't open. Like, I don't even know how to describe this, but it was like they were glued shut.
Ooh.
And I had to pull up on my eyelids, like, to get them to open. And as soon as I opened them, it was like the air, it felt like somebody was blowing a fan into my eyeballs, and there was no air moving. And we were riding motorcycles to Carlisle.
Yeah.
For Bike Week. And my buddies were telling, I mean, it was the most miserable ride. I almost didn't think I could go because I couldn't keep my eyes open for more than a few seconds at a time. And any air movement, even in the morning, I rode with my shield down and a t-shirt stuffed up into my face to where all I could see out of my eyes to drive.
Yeah.
But that was, like I said, I don't think it was the helmet. I don't think it was, I must have just caught some glare from all the other guys that were welding around me or something. It's hard to say, but that was, I've had a lot of boo-boos, and that one was one that I don't want to do
no,
again.
I don't want to have any damage to my eyes. See you, Stein. Glad you were here. Sorry I didn't get that in there. There we go. Here's a comment. We were locking down. Yeah.
It's crazy. And to what Nick was saying up here in PA, you feel weird being on the fence about it. You know, you have to take it seriously, but at the same time, we have to work. But at least here in Pennsylvania, it feels like there's two extremes. You have to pick a side that you want to be on.
Right.
And
that's, yeah.
I made some comments on my videos, and I ended up taking them out just because I didn't want to deal with upsetting people.
Sure. And I can relate to that. And I try to not make this anything I do political.
Yeah.
I try to avoid that as much as I can because it's just not worth it. But
it isn't worth it. It really isn't.
You know, but you're going to have all kinds of opinions and ideas and whatever. And so it's kind of hard to just be on one side or the other, really. But I know I mentioned it, here about taking care of ourselves, not going out, not doing the things that are going to spread this junk and make it more difficult. So that's really all we as a society can do at this point, and
remain positive. I mean, you have to being positive and that it's great that you're doing the live stream and there's, try to do what you can for your families, be safe.
Sure.
Try not to go outside. Everybody has to do their part. It's just, I understand with the extremes. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, and it could be anything. I know I've had instances I mentioned before on some, at least one vlog that I did where, and this isn't about anything going on in the world right now, but it was, the guy was just, attacking my channel or attacking me and whatever I was doing. And I'm like, why do you do this? What do you gain out of this? I had a guy recently, he went through like probably 4 or 5 of my videos in a row and just left a ugly comment on each one of them. And I'm like, why? What are you gaining from that? And it could be people that are just, they feel like they're showing some sort of a power by making a comment that could be offensive. I don't know. But anyway, what do I got here? No lockdown in Huntsville, Alabama. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's going to come to everybody. It's going to come to everybody. Let's see. Leonard. Yeah, living in a high desert. Yeah, but you're like 80 miles from anybody, aren't you, Leonard? I know you said you got to go a long way. a long way to buy stuff. Yep. Don't feed the trolls. Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's just what it is. There's a lot of people that want to just troll to get some sort of feedback or whatever. I wanted to, you know, you're talking about building a mini bike, and I still got that tricycle project that's sitting. I've got to solve some issues with that, but I've got a buddy of mine. He lives in New York. We served in the army together. I want to try to get some pictures of the thing he created, him and his buddy. I've never seen this done before. They took a very large wheelbarrow, and I have pictures of it in sequence, but they took this very large wheelbarrow and took the handles off, and they cut off the front like 18 inches or something, and like turned it around so it created a roadster body. And he built this frame. He put a little gas engine up front, and he's got it together. I'll have to see. Maybe I can find a picture of it. I was really impressed because, you know, when you see stuff like that, people can build. Oh, Nick's all over the place.
Yeah. Oh,
he's doing it. He's doing multiple angles. Look at that.
I didn't know I could switch them on here. That's pretty cool.
Can I have this and go onto my phone, Nick? Do you know?
If you went to your phone, you'd have to
just
probably rejoin.
Yeah, I might do that here.
You could go out in your garage.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, do it.
My wife can get on the computer and do work. Oh, I'll be back. I'll try to be.
Well, I'll just I'll remove you from the stream for now.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So there, it's me and Nick. And you can see Nick's got a lot different junk in his shop than I have in my shop.
Yeah, this is the bunker. This is the like home studio area, and then I have the kind of like the shop set up in the garage too, which is, you know, not as elaborate as this, but this is where I work. You know, the multiple screens where I'm always doing video stuff, and yeah, this is my home setup. So
yeah, if you haven't seen Nick's channel, check it out. He's putting out some cool stuff on there.
Just having fun.
Just having fun with it. If I have, okay, I do have one picture here. This thing is, you would look at this and not think this started off as a wheelbarrow, okay? And I'm gonna put this up here on the screen. Now let me get my angle right. If I can you see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Would you picture that as being a wheelbarrow to start off with?
No, but it you know, knowing it after the fact, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, and it's got a little gas engine up front, and it's rear wheel powered, and it's just really cool. I mean, I think he's going to use it like in parades and stuff or something. But he said it's really fast, by the way. And I know him. He likes to go really fast. He actually had I don't even know how to describe this. Check this out. He built this. This is a lawnmower with a 4-cylinder motorcycle engine on it. And he's had that thing out in his backyard, whipping around, doing like 50, 60 miles an hour on this thing. And it's just crazy. Yeah, that roadster thing, it's really cool. I wish, I told him, I said, man, you need to be making some videos on this stuff. People would eat that up to see how that's done. You know, but like I said, he cut off the front section and then rotated it around and welded it back on, and then can just follow the seam where the rolled seam goes. It was really cool. But anyway, see you, Carl. Glad you're here. Yeah, he's built some crazy stuff.
That's the fun stuff that you know, my neighbor's son, he's 14, so we're always into different projects, and between, they're working on a side-by-side right now, and you know, you'd be surprised how many people are searching and watching that stuff and just getting ideas, and you watch a couple different ideas. That's like fun garage work, because like I'm not a big fan of working on something to keep something on the road all the time, like, because that gets painful after a while where you're always trying to fix something. But you know, the 78's, the truck and the mini bike stuff, it's just, have fun, play around the yard. And I got that thing on sale for like $200.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, but there's a lot you can do. You can wrap some money up into them, but yeah, I think it's cool stuff, and you just get different ideas.
I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna try to invite. I don't know if Andrew's back out in his garage yet.
Yeah, he should be able to use the same link, but I'd maybe send him another one just in case.
Yeah, I sent him another one. We'll see what happens. Yeah, this is a really cool feature, and like I was saying, I posted this kind of late, and I posted a Facebook link, kind of late, letting people know I was going to do this. But I'm not against having other people join the chat. So if you have a webcam or have even just a laptop, that's I think Andrew was just using his laptop from what I gather.
Yeah, you don't even need any software. That's what's nice about it.
Yeah, it actually is pretty amazing that, and I use that OBS because that's the first thing I learned to use. But this is again the first experience with StreamYard. Now I know that I think you told me that StreamYard will allow you to use up to 20 hours.
Yeah, so it's
a month.
It's free. That's why it has the little duck thing up in the corner.
Yeah,
but if you pay it's $20 a month if you decide to go over 20 hours, and you can get rid of the branding, and then you have they turn on some more features. You can have like a scrolling banner across the bottom. There's it's very similar to Stream Labs OBS, which is what I use for my streams most of the time. Sure. But if you're gonna ever have a chance of hosting multiple people or be able to bring people in, you can actually do desktop share pretty easily from this too. If you want to share your desktop and what's on the screen, you can do that as well. So I mean, it's like the two best of both worlds. If there's a chance I'm going to bring somebody into a stream, then I'll use this. If there's a chance if I'm not, I can still bring them in with the other software. It's just like you said before, it's a little bit more work. But for anybody that's on this chat, if you like to join, you pretty much just need a latest, not the latest iPhone, but like an up-to-date software on your iPhone or sure. a tablet or a laptop or desktop with a webcam, and you can join in.
Yeah, I was hoping that I might have Tim join tonight, but he's probably busy doing something else, I guess. He has RC Guy Garage, and that's a really interesting stuff he does. If you're into RC, any kind of RC stuff, he does a lot right now with trucks and different brands. He's got all kinds of Habeo and Traxxas and Losi and all kinds of stuff. And he goes out and beats these things and breaks them and fixes them. So, I was hoping to kind of have him on here tonight, but I guess he's, like I said, he's doing something else. But anyway, maybe next time we can have Tim on here. And like I said, this is open, could be for anybody that wants to join in. I'm not going to narrow the field. Let's say I look at this chat, and it shows the last comment was 829. So we're still showing 44 viewers on here, which is cool. And we're now
what are some fun topics?
Fun topics?
Yeah, like what's everybody? I always like to interact with the chat, and sometimes I don't. Sure. I don't keep it on. But what's everybody else up to? I mean, it's fun chatting with new people.
Yeah. I mean, and there we go. Wait a minute. There we go. Now we got Andrew back.
Hey, I'm back.
Now he's out in the garage. So you get to see
I'm on my phone now.
Yeah, you're a little weak on the sound, but
try to move closer.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to get real close. Get your face right up in the screen.
You don't need all that.
Yeah, I know Nick's got his nice headphone set up. I hadn't thought about that. I've got a microphone, but I guess that what I have works fine. And
I use, like for iPhone, I'll use my AirPods too sometimes. Like you don't actually have to have a headset, but it sounds to me like his mic is covered by something though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going off my phone now, so yeah, I don't know.
Pick your phone up and talk once though, because I feel like something was because you just got better a little bit there.
That
maybe your phone like in a case.
Yes, it is in a case.
Well, there you sound a little bit better when you said
A little
case.
bit better there.
So,
I don't know.
oh, here we
I'll
got
just
a,
sit
I've
here
got
and
a
nod my
question from, okay.
Yeah.
Barry, can you solve a loose driver door when it shuts? I already bought a new latch assembly. That depends. What do you mean by loose? What's loose about it? Is it not going in far enough? Is it not lining up? You know, it got to be a little more specific. But I could probably help you with it if I had some better information, because loose covers a lot of ground. Oh, Randy has a question. I think he's asking you, Andrew. He wants to know how those wells are going. Somebody has already asked that, but
We're getting there.
yeah, he's figured it out. Still fighting with it, but getting there. Just needs to get some wire out to his garage. Oh, so we got DW. Just needs to get some wire out to his garage. If I was near, I would help you. So,
Heck yeah, I would love that.
yeah. So we got Danny. We're all stuck at work. The weather has us shut down, but I did a lot of yard work done and the car ready for the new floor pan. That's cool. When you say you're stuck at work, and I don't know where you're at, Danny. You must be somewhere where the weather's pretty bad if you're stuck at work. So I'm guessing snow. I'm just not real sure. Okay, so we got FOMO. Let's see. I think it's full latch, but I can push it in and out a lot. Well, it depends on if you have the door seal, right? If you have a door seal on it. I'm assuming you're referring to a Mustang. So if you have the door seal in place, and then if the latch is good and lined up on the striker plate, the post coming out of the B pillar, you may have to adjust the B pillar, the striker, in and out. So basically when that latch comes in and goes around that post, that's going to seat so that it's, I know, don't take that personal. It's going to seat so that it's, centered and carries the load, but it latches it. So it when you move that, if you adjust the screws or loosen it up, you can move that post in or out, which will affect ultimately the door being in or out. So you may want to play with that. Also, you can do up and down whenever you adjust the door. And this is weird for me. I see a little bit of my screen, so I have to narrow my hands down so I understand it. But you can, when you pivot your door, on the axis to get it lined up for what we call the reveal, where the door meets the rocker panel and also the quarter. When you do that, you do it without the striker in place. You want that door to be comfortable as it's flowing in and out to where it matches the quarter. Then you put the striker in and center it. So when the door's still doing its proper swing, it's going to catch that latch and just flow on in. But then you can, this, again, affects the in and out. So just think about that whenever you're doing that. Is the bushing on the doorpost? I'm not sure. Well, yeah, when you say bushing on a doorpost, sometimes there's a shim that goes behind the striker, because when you put the latch in, the doors could have some variance. And I've had to do it. I've actually had to, in fact, I'll be doing it. I'll be doing some shim work for the Brooklyn Pony. I had to space the striker out a little bit, and I'll make a plate that matches the pattern for the striker and fill that gap so it's a dead on. It looks like it's smooth. I did it on the, go back to the light blue Mustang. You'll see there's a, I did that with that. I had to make a filler to take up that space. Otherwise, it would be like putting washers in between, and it would look ridiculous to have a gap there. So I make a duplicate to fill that space. Let's see. We got Robert. I have one more trip out tomorrow to pick up an order at Sam's and Lowe's, and I'm not going anywhere for a while. Mustang work this week. Cool. And you got those lights in the garage, right, Robert? I know last time we talked, you said you were putting those lights in the garage. And I know you had also mentioned about I know we talked about making another video, which if you can, that's fine. If not, that's cool. But I know Robert has tried to do a viewers project video, and we had some issues with the camera. So I know he's talked about making another video at some point, and there's no pressure at all. You do it at your pace. No big deal. Yeah. So the striker, there you go. That's what I was talking about. If you don't have the striker shimmed to where the claw of the latch, I can't really describe it very well, but if you had let's say you have the bolt representing the striker, when the claw comes around, sometimes it'll drag on the striker or drag on the claw. And so when you shim that post deeper in, it lets it clear and not have any drag. Just a couple little things to think about. Let me see here. Oh, well, there's Darlene just got home from work testing all the sick people. And she's up in Alaska, I believe. So,
wow.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you said you were Alaska, Darlene, right? I'll wait for the feedback on that. So I don't know how many people were affected up there, but that's pretty odd or crazy that you think about how this is spreading and getting all over the place. Yep, foam will go. You're going to have to put a shim in there. If it's hitting the head of the striker, put a shim in. And like I said, I've made them out of aluminum before. It's easy to make, but you got to get the thickness right. So by chance, I had some aluminum that was within the range for the blue Mustang that I did years ago. It was right on the, right thickness, and I was able to trim that out and make it, make a spacer for it. So, okay, Robert, sounds good. Have a good night. Glad you're here, Michelle. We'll see you next time. Robert Adams, it's a loose nut behind the camera. That's a problem. Yeah. Sometimes, we can be our worst cameraman. I've got Andrew working on a 51. I'll just click on it. Look at that. We need to make metal pieces. What is a good metal roll to purchase to work metal forms? I don't have an answer for you. Sorry. I know, Andrew, you bought some metal to practice on for your.
I did. It was actually given to me.
Okay.
I found a metal shop here. It was in State College, and a really cool 88-year-old man has been running this shop for 60 years. And I went in, told him what I was looking to do, and he was just a really cool old guy that was like, you're too young to be spending money. Here's some scrap. Figure out how to weld. Come back whenever you have it welded, and then I'll talk about selling you stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, very cool guy.
Yeah. I know with that F100, you're going to struggle to find pieces for it, obviously. But I don't have a good answer for you where you can get, a roll of metal to work. I don't have a good answer. Sometimes you end up, depending on what you need. I've seen people take like a floor pan from another vehicle and just modify it, to adapt it to make it work. So you might want to look at that. How do you get the screw out if the head is stripped? That's a tough one. I've actually had this same problem, and I probably should have done a video on it, but I didn't. Where on the Jade Mustang, I needed to take the striker plate off, and what I ended up having to do is drill it out. I had to drill it down, and I actually drilled all the way through it, weakened it up, sprayed on some stuff to it to help it, some solvent to help weaken up the threads or whatever. And then I was able to get it out. I think I went inside the car and put a pair of vice grips on the part of the bolt that was sticking out. And I was able to break it loose and get it out. Well, sometimes when if you have to drill out a bolt like that, you got to get all the junk out of it you can and then retap the hole. So that's what I'm going to have to do on the Jade Mustang. I actually have two new screws around here somewhere where I need to do that. Maybe I should have done a video on that. I didn't really think about it. I know a lot of the stuff that I do, I don't make videos on everything. And I tend to forget that not everybody knows the stuff that I know. It's just I do so much stuff that's second nature to me that I don't think about it, and I'll finish out something, and I'm like, oh, I bet you somebody would have liked to seen that.
That's the hardest part about filming a YouTube video is making sure
Man.
you after the fact, it's so easy to go and look at it. And there's no way to really add to it after. But even in like the videos I've been doing, and I've noticed that too, Barry, is like after the fact, I'm like, should have said this, should have added this, should have did that, probably could have covered this. And it's hard when you're covering steps of stuff. I agree with you. That's
Well, Nick, since you brought that up, I'm just gonna, we'll talk about your chainsaw video because it's a great video. I mean, it shows a lot of stuff. But I was watching that video and I was like, Nick, you're missing some opportunities here. Because whenever you unboxed it and you were showing, different things, I was like, slow down a minute, because even for me, I was like, I want to see more of the tool. I want to see what does what up close rather than, and I know you were trying to get that video done, and I understand that, but I was like, man, I wanted to see.
I wanted to do like the close up shots and do everything else. I was kind of under prepared for that one, and I didn't realize it was going to be. It's funny because like the wildest videos that I've done have been like successful as far as like changing the fuel filter in my ATV, which has like 40,000 views,
right?
And very niche, very specific thing. And that was a video I didn't do any production with. I threw a camera up because I was doing the project anyway, and I tried to cover as much as I could. The chainsaw one was like I was fighting the daylight after work. I wanted to get it out there just to get it out there, and things just didn't go right that day. It was raining out, and I had set aside some time, and I knew all this stuff was creeping up with the whole everything getting shut down, and I was like, man, but I want to do more, and I agree with you. Like, there's so many things I wanted to show and do and compare. I wanted to do the different, like a full chisel chain versus a semi chisel, like that.
Right.
But that's what it comes like. It's so hard, and then to cover all the things that you're never going to cover everything that everybody's going to ask for, and that's like the hardest thing I've noticed is like if you wait so long to try to produce something so much, then you lack on getting it out. And I've been trying to do at least something once a week,
right,
in spare time.
Well, see, and that's what I've talked about before. If I've been putting videos on YouTube for 10 years, and I get all the comments all the time. Like, why don't you have more subscribers? I was like, I don't know, but my early stuff wasn't nearly as good because I didn't understand the concept for what my approach is. So I had to kind of do it differently, and so now, like you're saying, I try to take in all the angles that I can of why and how and when and where and all that stuff. And it takes a while. It takes a lot of time to make a video that people can just watch and go, oh, and there's lots of little things. So, I may have said this before. There's a lot of times where I will, I don't know the wording right, but I will voice myself while I'm driving a car. I'm thinking about this while I'm driving the car, and I'm actually coming up with processes as I'm just driving along, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah. And I'll actually have, hey gang, I'll start talking about it, and I'll lay out in my mind a whole format. I don't write anything down. Nothing that I do, it's all out of my head, and you can see it in my bloopers. I'll start talking, it's like, oh, no, wait a minute. Start that over. So, but I try to consider all those things that people want to see or learn from.
It's tough too, because like I have a wide range of age groups. I mean, I've always hung out with older people, and a lot of people, especially from the tech. The hard part is like in the tech industry, when I do videos on cameras or gear, to be competitive as a video in that space, all these guys have they're very good editors. They're very good cameras. They have very good equipment in the tech space. So to compete with them, you have to talk fast and get your point across quick, or people won't watch your videos. And then I look at the videos where where I'm having fun, and some of them where they're not made to be an instructional video. They're not made to be like the one where I built the box in the bed of the truck.
Yeah, yeah.
That was more of a hype video. And then people were like, "Hey, you should put the drawings up in the specs." And I'm like, this wasn't even designed to be a build video.
Right.
And then I have to slow down whenever I'm doing like with the camera stuff. It's hard because you know the difference between pleasing the YouTube algorithm and pleasing people, and sometimes there's a combination of both. And that's a fine balance there, because sometimes you can do an awesome video and it just won't get played, and you can do a crappy video that's pleases the algorithm, and boom, it takes off. That's been the hardest thing for me. And I know that on the explaining the tech thing and working with you, even on some of the tech stuff, it's like I have to remind myself that like people, you know, the littlest thing, like turn the camera on, I'm not going to like I don't think of those things, but to somebody it's like, hey, if I want to shoot manual, like I have to slow it down. So I appreciate that feedback, because you know this is all a learning curve, and I appreciate everybody's input.
Right. Let me answer a question here. We got Danny. He wants to know, what is the best way to ensure metal is clean before primer? First car that I painted. Well, I don't know the status of your car. I don't know if it's all raw metal, if it's all sanded down. I don't know what you've done to it. So when I approach something like that, if I'm going to be priming X, once I've sanded it down and done all the repair work and whatever is going to be taking place, I'll wipe it down. Now, I've had some people say this isn't a good idea. I've done it for years. I use Windex. I wipe it down with Windex. It's fine. There's also products you can buy off the shelf at the paint stores where you can wipe down stuff. You can even wipe it down if you wanted to with lacquer thinner. Just make sure it's clean and dry. And then there's another product that's it's like it's a wax remover, stuff like that. You could wipe it down with that. So ideally, you want to make sure there's no oils, no moisture, none of that stuff on the car. And then I'll blow it all off with dry air. I say dry air because a lot of air compressors put out moisture. So I'll do all that, get it, just make sure everything's out of it, all the dust and dirt and all that stuff. And then in this case, I'll spray it with epoxy primer and go from there. So that's what I would recommend. And Robert has made a comment that the striker plate screws, they're not really a Phillips. Even though I've used Phillips, a lot of us have, PZ4, POSI4. So that's some good information. Wait a minute. Robert, it's a bell for that. I haven't done a bell in a while. I've been missing out on the bells because this is a whole new format, so I'm getting used to it.
I'm going to have to turn my headphones down. No. What was that you said?
Yeah. Andrew's asking, the machine used the bend metal. Okay. And used ollie hammers. My bad, sorry. Okay. So you're talking about a metal brake is one thing. There's also a English wheel, but I don't use any of that stuff. Not for what I'm doing. I do a lot of hand forming, and I use dollies. And I do have, if you're looking, I do have some dolly kits on Amazon. So if you can check that out on my Amazon page, it's listed on any of my videos. It has an Amazon link, and then you can go look at tools and products and check that out. So I use those all the time. Or you could even, if they sell that stuff at Harbor Freight too. I've said it before. Hammer and dolly kit, pretty cheap, and just experiment with making some forms. For FOMO Go 69 is going to try to weld at the top, a bar at the top. You need to try to move that striker. Don't weld to that striker. You don't want to do that. Here's Angela. Yeah, she's in Alaska. A few positives, but the number is growing. Yeah. Yep, that's scary that it's made its way up to Alaska. And it's hitting everybody. It's hitting all around the world. Let's see she has a question for me. Best ways to remove surface rust from basically everything on the bottom side of the car, and recommendations for keeping that at bay with all the salts from our fire. Ooh, that's a tough one there. That's really tough. You're gonna have to probably the bottom of the car. Not much you're gonna be able to do with any ease. Usually a media blast and then spray it with epoxy. I don't know what your options are in Alaska. If you're doing it by hand, it's going to be tough. You could try wire wheels and sanding discs and, whatever you can to get that stuff off of there. But I've also used different chemicals, navel jelly and stuff like that. There's a variety of stuff out there. And not knowing how severe the rust is also part of the problem. So that may be how you approach it. I know I've talked about it before with different rust inhibitors and stuff like that I've used. And I don't know what's available in your area. So you may have to see what you can find, see what's available. Oh, we got this is a new name. I haven't seen this guy before. M. Arc. I'm going to guess Mark. Replacing a quarter panel, what do you use to treat the hidden areas behind the panels? Well, that's similar, if you're treating it, if you're doing like the wheelhouse and stuff like that, you can use Chassis Saver. You can coat it with that. 415, get all the rust off and then coat it with that stuff. And then, don't put it where you're going to weld, obviously. Put some weld through primer on the overlaps where you're going to put the quarter on. And seam sealer, I actually use Evercoat's brushable right here. That's what I use for seam sealer. I like that stuff. And it can be spread with a brush or even, put on a glove and put it on your finger and fill in gaps with that. So fluid film. I have used fluid film, but not really for undercoating. I haven't considered using it for undercoating.
My friends who have experience with that for undercoating. It's as far as I hear, good things, but
yeah. Well, the fluid film I'm thinking of is in a spray can, and it was used as a machining process. So if it's a different product, I don't know. I probably have some in my cabinet.
A product you spray with you just spray it with like a spray gun, and then it stays like clear.
Oh,
and instead of like turning dark, if that's what they're talking about, it stays clear and it stays like liquid almost in a way.
Okay. Well, that's not what I think of when I think of fluid film. Let's see if I have a can in here. Got all kinds of other junk. I know I used to have a can of it, but it was a product. It's probably
this stuff's like gold. I think it goes on like a brownish color, but then like as it cures or whatever, it turns clear. So it just kind of makes your undercoating look like it's wet all the time, I guess. If that's what they're mentioning, I think that's what they're talking about.
This is an old can that I've had for years. There's a little bit left in it, but see, that's what I think of when I fluid film, and it's really like a spray grease, like a light,
It's probably the same product, but I know that they make it in bigger containers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't dry though.
It doesn't dry. It just it should clear up though.
There it is. It's still some on the tip there. It's like it stays. It's like grease.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not used that for undercoating. So, but I do have that. But I'm not for undercoating. Oh, you're just talking about military equipment. Oh, sprayed his whole car with it. Okay. Well, that'll work. Andrew, you're twitching. I don't know why you're twitching.
Yeah, I got my comments up on the phone, so I can see the comments, but now I can't see you guys. So I'm trying to get back to you.
Okay. Oh, okay. Battery burnout. I watched a channel with a guy in New Hampshire that uses bar and chain oil for undercoating. Yeah. Well, that works. But it's kind of like, there's fluid film is lanolin based. Yeah. Okay. Same stuff. Yeah. When I think undercoating, my mind tends to gravitate towards like the rubberized stuff that's going to stay and do some sound deadening and that sort of thing. This is more, I won't say temporary, but in my mind, it feels temporary because stuff could knock it off easier, I guess.
No,
But
it is. I think
I
you're
don't know.
supposed to redo it like once. If you do use an undercoating, I think you're supposed to redo it like once a year.
Okay. Yeah. I look more towards permanent stuff. You know, I like doing stuff once. One and done, go away. All right. Well, let's see now. Where are we at? How long have we been up here? 2 hours right now. Hit 2 hours. That's pretty good. I think that's probably going to be long enough. It's 9 o'clock at night. And I know I haven't eaten yet. So I know we have a pot of, my wife made beef stroganoff.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I need some food. So
But Grease Rook, he's gonna do some welding tonight. I can see it already. He's having to go practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Do some welding. I mean, what else you got to do, right? Are the kids in bed yet?
I'm a night owl. Yeah. Kids are in bed.
Yeah.
So I usually stay out pretty late working in the garage, and then I try to get some shut eye and then head into work. So.
Yeah. You know, I had a couple of the people just in thinking about some things. I had a couple of people ask me about my hoist and the lifting device that I have here on the engine, which I found a little bit odd. I guess I didn't really think about the idea of what I was using for the hoist because, again, it's one of those things that I just have. But it's an air-powered hoist, and I thought about maybe doing a little video on on what I have for set up here because it's probably not to code, and I can't say it's the best idea that I've ever had, but it works. And again, I had some people ask me about it. They wanted to just kind of know what I'm doing to lift that engine out of there. So I may do something on that. I don't know yet. Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of text messages and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, we're going to call it a night. Momogo says he sprays that stuff inside the doors, keeps forever. Oh, wait, I have to do a shout out here. We've got Engines Love to Start Matthew from Yorkshire, England. Yeah, cool. Glad you're here. So we've had England. What was the other one we had? Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. And apparently, you know, a lot of people from Canada and you know, the U.S. and all that. So it's kind of cool to have these people visit from different countries. And unfortunately, we're gonna, you know, have to call it a night, even though they're just now showing up. 3X Xena. Now I have to give a shout out to him because if I'm not mistaken, that's Gene, and he just did the last Viewers Project video. So I have to give a shout out to Gene. And so
he says he was working on his car.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. Yeah, thank you, Jack. Yeah, don't forget the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate it. Need all the thumbs up I can get on this stuff. And
well, Barry, thank you for having me on. I appreciate you. And
we'll do it again.
Yeah,
definitely a cool time. Grease Rookie, great time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many prayers and blessings to all you guys in the chat from my side, at least. Stay positive and stay healthy.
Yep. Same to you, man. Same to you.
Yeah.
And one day I'm going to have Nick make me some more deer jerky.
Yeah, we got to do that. I got to send you some. I got a freezer full just in case, but I'll share.
I know it's been a few years since I've had any, so I've got to put the thumb on them and say, get that in there. So, all right. So we'll see you all later, and we'll do the same thing next week. And we might have everybody that's here. We might have some different people. We'll see. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See you.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.